Better World Blueprint. Good humans doing good things.
Sometimes the world can feel overwhelming, even hopeless. But behind the scenes, there are countless people working for change. People who prove that hope isn't naive, it's necessary. You'll meet them here on this podcast. I'm Siobhan Hunt. Welcome to A Better World Blueprint. On a beautiful summer day late last year, I was having breakfast with my friends in Bondi, as I often do. But when I left the beach to go about my day, I had no idea just how much things would change by that evening. It was December the 14th, the day that families gathered to celebrate Hanukkah, the Jewish festival of lights, and two men opened fire on those people celebrating their faith. Men, women, children, 15 people were killed. In Australia, we're not used to this kind of violence. It was a huge shock for everyone. Like everyone else, I turned the radio on, I was watching the news, trying to work out what had happened. And it was so disturbing and overwhelming. Not just the act itself, but everything that came after. It felt like there was no space to process what had happened. And it was just like a blame game started between politicians and people shouting, and it was pretty bleak. But amongst all of this media coverage, there was one place where I found solace. And maybe it's surprising, but it was in an Instagram account. Jessica Chapnik Kahn is a poet and songwriter. She was at that Hanukkah celebration with her beautiful young daughter Shemi and protected her with her own body. Someone so directly caught up in the terror of that day somehow managed to express her thoughts and feelings in a way that felt deeply human. She made me feel connected when other commentary made me feel like we were more divided than ever. She made me feel hope when I felt hopeless. This is my chat with poet and songwriter Jess Chapnik Kahn. Hello, Jess, and welcome to A Better World Blueprint.
Hi, Siobhan.
It's so lovely to see you, and I have been reading your words on Instagram. You are a songwriter, a poet. Writing is your jam, but I really noticed the first post that you made after the Bondi attacks. It really, for me at the time, stood out for its honesty, its clarity. But I think what stayed with me were the final parts of your post, and I'll just read that out for those who hadn't read it. You said, "I speak to you now, to myself, as I spoke to my babe on Sunday. Stay there, friends, in your hearts. It will carry us to where we have always wanted to go, to love." This was really soon after an incredibly traumatic experience for yourself and your beautiful daughter. What made you write this post?
Oh, I'm getting a bit emotional. I haven't gotten emotional often when I've been talking. When I see things of myself when I was writing in this very early time or speaking in an interview, I'm a bit like I don't quite recognize that person. Yeah, it's interesting, I guess, trauma and where I was at in such fresh shock and such fresh sort of unfolding of something so shocking. So it's almost like as I heard you read them back, I heard them as though they didn't come from me, and I was receiving the message for myself for the first time. I wrote the post, on the one hand, my phone exploded. Actually, literally, my phone actually exploded. People that know us and know that we live in the Bondi area and that we're Jewish and all those things, everyone was writing. And then I wanted to let people know that I was safe, and I wanted to let people know that also I had a need to share that we had been there. And I've been through one particular traumatic experience before where I never got to be witnessed. I never got to speak. I remained by choice completely voiceless in that experience. And it was very hard for years, the level of alienation that I felt around that experience and the PTSD that followed. So I had the wherewithal, I guess, to decide to have a voice in it and the importance of that narrative, even if it was just whatever I pieced together. I mean, I barely remember piecing that together, but the importance for my own healing, to organize the chaos, to sort of create the psychological distance by telling myself, I'm not there now, I'm here now. That happened there, but I'm not there now. I'm actually alive and safe. And the other reason I wrote it, I guess, was that it felt like such a darkness was descending upon us at that time. My daughter and I had just had a deathbed experience. You know, everyone there had a deathbed experience on a grass deathbed or a concrete deathbed, wherever people were hiding. And I felt the need, the experience that I went through and the heart space that I found inside of horror, which had never happened to me before, to find that space in the midst of not a safe space. I felt the need to hold on to what I'd experienced, to the small, safe place that was unstealable, that was undefilable. I'm making up words, I think, but
they make sense to me.
Yeah, so there was some layers going on to it, not like I didn't sit and think, this is why I have to, but I think now looking back, because I take a long time to share things and I'm not hugely personal on social media. So now looking back, I think these were all parts of the tapestry of what was going on.
You mentioned that looking back at the interviews and what you've written, you can feel a certain distance from what you wrote and what you said at the time. Is there any sense of what you felt to express that coming back to the heart centre? Was there anything that you can remember from the experience of writing that yourself?
Yeah, I think it was only by actively staying in the story that had happened. I guess I was sort of meaning making as well, which is what stories do as well and how they heal us. It was like, because it's so, God, there are so many layers to surviving, to who dies, who lives, why, where, the shapes. Oh, if I'd moved 2 centimeters there, if I'd been there at that time, if I'd stopped to say hi to that person, if I'd actually done, we had so many other plans that day. The fact that we ended up there that at that particular time is, there are so many mind-blowing things when you start unpacking. Why, what, how, why was I there? Why were we there? Why were the two of us there? Why we were only there for less than 5 minutes. We just arrived. All those things that, we'll never have answers to. But something really profound happened to me there in being able to go inside myself. And I think my daughter did it too from the conversations I've had with her, and find a safe place inside myself. It's only by telling the story that I can access the meaningful nature of what happened. There are so many distractions after something like this that, it could go to so many places. The politics, the anger, that there's just so much noise. The horror, the body, the layers of the body. I mean, my body, I feel like I have a new body in many ways. I find open spaces. I'm still getting the hang of being outside, and loud noises are a mild torture, and, all these sorts of things. But when I go back to certain parts of the story, and I had so much opportunity to speak the story, not that my socials was just a tiny part of it, through interviews, through people, I took every opportunity because I felt that I really needed it for my own healing to go through this. I guess what I don't quite recognize when I see myself, when I hear myself, it's almost I look like I'm still coming back from the underworld almost. That's how I look to myself. And I was feeling that I don't feel that now, but I was feeling that for quite a few days, maybe weeks, where I felt like, am I still there? Your body, all your subtle bodies or whatever, they're all kind of trying to catch up, your psyche to your body, to your cells, all the different layers of yourself are trying to come back together. And so part of me was like, I think I'm still there, and I'm imagining this part. I'm imagining this is like some weird afterlife projection. Like, I think we died. Like, I really wasn't sure. So seeing myself now, I feel like I'm looking at someone was still there, I guess. And I didn't know it. I didn't know when the camera was on me that I wasn't actually in the room, that I was actually still there. But telling the story from a really far, like from there, I was like telling the story back to earth.
It's really interesting you say that, but especially the part where you mentioned there's a lot of noise and a lot of distraction. And I wonder if, in a way, you were channeling maybe the essence of who you are in the world beyond this actual event, because what I got from your post was it made me have this slight amount of hope. Like you say, there was this big darkness coming down on us all. And reading your post made me feel hopeful for us as humans, because the thing that I picked up from what you wrote and what you've written since was very intimate and personal, but it was still about connection and about who we are as humans and how we connect with each other and what is important in the world. And I wonder if even in that shock, you were still channeling something that's essentially you and almost comes from the work that you were doing before in your poetry and your writing in your own path. And does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no doubt that finding heart space in horror is not something that I could have ever imagined that I could do. And people were saying, wow, that's so amazing, that's so heroic. It's like I felt that it happened to me. I didn't do it. It was like a grace descended on us. I didn't, you're obviously not planning. So like, where does that come from? I've since thought, from practices. That's why we call certain things practices, because you're practicing. Like when we're doing whatever it is, whatever modality, and wherever we find our, that special thing for ourselves, that special place. Some people find it, they go for a run and they just feel, or swimming, like they go in the ocean and that's that sort of temple space, or yoga or whatever it is. I guess I speak for myself. I think I'm doing it for that moment. It's like you're not necessarily understanding it in the moment that you're doing it, and you don't have to. All there is a trust that something is being lodged in your body or in your mind or in your heart or whatever it is, and your body will know what to do at a certain point. And I think ultimately preparing us for death. I mean, I think a lot of our practices are like a preparation, even like with yoga, the corpse pose, the end pose. I remember hearing different teachers say meditation is practicing to die well. Hard to get, beautiful things to hear, but, what does it really mean? We're not always thinking about dying and like, how does that help? I mean, it makes us feel good in the moment. So, we'll just do it, but I guess I had an experience of seeing how these things really find you. They come and find you in the moment. That's what you're actually doing in the practice. You're opening yourself up to be found when the time comes that you need to be found.
It's so interesting you say that, because I feel like I hear what you're saying about the practice. I think where we as the readers of your work are fortunate is that you have the talent to channel what you've practiced, because your writing is so clear and resonant, I think is the word that comes to mind. Like, it's very easy to read your words. They're very flowing and they connect with your heart, or my heart, listening to them. And I'm wondering if you've always felt that affinity to words, whether it was in songwriting, poetry, or just writing generally. Have you always felt a calling to express yourself that way?
Yes, always. I've always done it. It's always been what I've done. I mean, I think we're all doing it all the time. I think we're all doing stories all the time. Some of us do it for a job. But as an actor, as a songwriter, as a writer, my world is stories. And whether that's words, whether that's, a song or music, that is what has captivated me from childhood. I think I've always been looking for something to be revealed. I think words are like praying, or writing is like praying, poetry is like praying. They're just ultimately prayers. My earliest probably poetry I read was Psalms from the Bible. Like, that was a big part of my childhood. So I feel like I relate to writing as a prayer. And I always think I write before I understand anything. Like, I don't, that old thing, like, you write what you know. I've never felt like I write what I know. I feel like I write what I'm going to know. And I've proven that time and time again. Like, I'll read a poem or I'll read something that I wrote and I'm like, oh my God, I wrote that before now I know that thing. Now I know that thing exists. Now I know the horror of that thing or the beauty of that thing, but I wrote it before I knew that. It's almost got like a slight prophetic quality, writing. And I think I really enjoy, there's this word in Hebrew, hineni, and it's a word that it comes up in quite a few stories, I guess, when God comes to Abraham and Abraham says, hineni. And I think it happens at the burning bush in the Moses saga. And it means, here I am. But it's a very, very embodied here I am. Like, I am receptive. I am here. I am listening. I am really here. So I always feel like writing is a bit like hineni and running away. Hineni and running away. It's like this constant tension between receptivity, and then it's almost like you have to leave. It's like too much. It's like whatever's there, whatever light, whatever revelation, whatever unveiling happens with writing, you have to leave. And by leave, I don't mean you stop writing forever or or you leave your job, but it's this constant tension between sort of spirit and body. Body wants to go back into the world and have the good time or be distracted or just not live in the prayer. So I love living in that hineni. And I don't love the running away, but that's how I do it. And yeah, I feel I write to let God in. And when I say God, replace it for whatever, for higher intelligence, for higher source, for beauty, whatever word works for you. I write to let that in. And I think that's how light comes in. That's just how light comes into bodies, to humans.
And the storytelling you do, to me, letting that light in, storytelling needs an audience, right? And you're bringing that light to other people. Have you ever been able to see the impact that your words have had?
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that. Let me say that. Even when you perform, sometimes I've got a particular song that I always know works, and when I say works, you just feel like the audience can go with you and it's And sometimes it doesn't, you're not always good. If you're working for that, if you're working for the impact, it's just not going to work out. I think I used to work when I was just starting out. There was always, it was a feeling that I was in charge, like I was generating this and I was doing, and it was either working or not working, and you could leverage, how do you, and it's just like how capitalism has affected the game, even something as sacred as art, or the sublime, let's say. And now as I get older and I'm understanding this so differently, I work so differently. I feel like what the work wants, the work will have. I am very happy to be employed by the work. And by the work, whatever needs to come down onto planet Earth. You know what I mean? It's like I'm here. It's back to the Hineni. And I'm not as concerned about impact. I'm really interested in being available.
It's so interesting you say that, because I wanted to speak to you because I think your work makes the world a better place. And often when I'm talking to people, what I'm trying to get to the root of is, what motivates people to create or be in service of this thing that's making the world better, especially in a time when it feels exactly like those forces of capitalism, the individual. There's all this noise, right? But then there are people like yourself doing work that makes the world better. And it may not be something that you're consciously thinking, like you're channeling something, right? It may not be what impact it makes. But I'm wondering if you have a sense of the importance of your art in making the world a better place. It may not be necessarily in the feedback you get from people. It might be just in the value of the art itself. And I'm wondering if you have a perspective on that.
My perspective is that I trust what's coming in. That's my perspective on it. In this new model that I'm working in of just being available and feeling like the work is in charge, like it's actually wonderful. I'm not in charge. I mean, I'm not suggesting that I'm some oracle that, stuff's coming. There's nothing magical to it, in the sense that I just used to work from a very different place, and it was quite a painful place. It's a very painful place to be looking for the markers of success based on a particular model that is not even a model you wanted or invented. It's just the model. And, of course, there's realities of money. But as far as my writing and my work, I don't think about impact. I just work on the Hineni. I really...
But there's something sacred in that, right? There's something, beneficial for those around you, for myself, for your audience, that you are open to that work, and that you are, for whatever reason, what you're channeling is so positive.
The positivity really surprises me. I'm quite a negative person. I've been surprised by my need to reach out for hope. I've been really surprised by it. If you ask, my husband, or I'm like the negative one of the two of us, and I come from a fairly negative family, and I'm comfortable in the shadows. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say those. It's like, wow, okay. But I have noticed because I've never thought like hope is an interesting one. Because hope, I've had an interesting relationship with, and I've always thought it actually, when hope is destroyed, that's when you can really start living. That's sort of the Buddhist thing of like, hope is in your way. Hope is an obstacle, really. Just like shatter hope and start, But I found myself reaching for hope after this happened, this massacre. And I'm still figuring out what that is. And I think that's why I'm writing. I'm trying to figure something out, and I'm trying to be available to the questions, because I really feel my whole philosophy, for lack of a better word, or in my life and in my work, I think that the questions are holy. I don't care too much about the answers. I don't know if there are answers to most of it, but the questions are where the holy lives. And so I'm reaching out for the questions, but the right questions, because I think the right question is a key. It's like just the right key for the right gate, for the right portal, for the right place where we need to travel, you know. But hope has found me, especially I think I'm finding at the moment that children play a big part in what happened there. And maybe because of where I was at the Hanukkah party, I was surrounded by children. It was a space of children. We were between the petting zoo with the children and the bubbles with the children. And that's where Shemi and I were sandwiched when the shots began. So I keep thinking about children and innocence and of course, Matilda and my own child and the process that she's on as she has to unravel this very, very brutal experience. And there's just innocence, hope. There's something about the child and the future. And I don't mean in like the children are our future, you know, sort of thing. I mean in like the other day I heard my kids laughing in another room, giggling. And I just was like, oh my God, the promised land is the laughing of children. It was there all along. It was there all along in the next room. I never noticed. It's like we think these places are places, but I'm wondering if they're not places at all, if they're even a sound as beautiful as a child laughing. Like, could we ask for anything more in the whole of existence, in the whole world, for children to laugh, to giggle? I'm just so moved by things like that, by sound. And maybe I'm particularly like, for me, the shooting was such a sonic experience. It was all a map of sound. I couldn't see. I didn't see guns. I didn't see people. And I've become a lot more aware of sound and the sound of hope almost. I'm figuring this out as I speak to you. It's live working out. But the sound of hope has found me. I wouldn't in myself, if I had thought about how would you be if that happened to you? I would think hopeless. That's what I would think I would be. But it's not where I'm living. And that doesn't mean I don't have a lot of fear around where things are going in the future and lots of things when I let myself go there. But the sound of what the future can be, and in some ways what it is, if we can hear it. If we can hear it, it's here. It's been here all along. We didn't realize. And how can we keep calling in that song, that reality? It's not gone from us. It's like we can actually still experience it, even after horror, even after terror. It exists. Like, all is not lost.
I'm wondering one of the questions I ask is, have you ever stumbled along this path, which is a creative path of writing, of expressing yourself this way, of being present, to allowing the art to move through you? And I feel like you're probably telling us this as we talk, that the stumble is maybe in finding your way through it? Or is there, the other thing that I do ask people is often when they've gone through a creative pathway or a pathway of service, money is never attached to those, or very unlikely to be attached to those pathways. And sometimes the challenge or the stumble is financial. And I'm wondering what would be the challenge in this creative life that you've chosen to lead?
Well, a bit like you're right. I'm sort of saying it in other ways, but there are lots of ways you can stumble on this path, much like life, obviously, where, I don't think it's exclusive to the creative path, but I think the creative path poses quite a few worldly challenges, like financial, like just sort of being normal. Like you're not quite in the normal. You're not in a job. You don't have the same hours. Like you're not normal, and you got to sort of want to not be normal. But, to keep coming back to it, the Hinanian running away, sometimes it is the running away from like, I want to be normal. I want to feel safe. I want to feel normal. I want to have measures of success like a normal job. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to be like looked upon seriously by society. There's a lot of ways you can stumble, and you got to want it, or maybe it just chooses you. I don't know. I know plenty of people that have everything that could be the most incredible artists, and they haven't done it. Why not? I don't know. I'm always curious about that, because sometimes I think, God, how did I actually continue doing this? Like, I'm amazed that I'm still here in the work. Wouldn't choose anything else, but at the same time, like, wow, it's really like, it's a feat, but I couldn't do anything else. Like, I couldn't have, and some people can do something else and not do. So there's some, you're not only given, well, I don't even know if talent comes into it. I don't even think it does. But in the genetic pool of artists, you're not only given, I think, the ability to do, or the ability to want to do, but some sort of fortitude to keep going. Because if you don't have that bit, people talk about the talent. You can be so talented. My mum was an incredibly talented actor. She did not continue. There's probably thousands, millions of people that have talents like we can't even imagine. They didn't bring them forth as an offering to the world. It's just the way it is. Everything was against me to follow this path. My parents didn't, nothing was, my whole culture, my whole everything, like nothing was destined for this, to doing what I do. So how it works in the scheme of it, I don't know. But the stumbling, I have stumbled, and I've run away in the sense of, just like, God, can I escape? Could I? And I couldn't.
Yeah. Well, do you think doing the work has changed you? Is it constantly changing you? You've talked about this experience you've been through since the shootings, and you're still going through. It's almost like the process is part of your work. I mean, is it a constant evolution doing this work?
Any practice, you're continually changing. You might not notice that you're getting fitter, let's say. You might not notice how I think there are different times in your life with any practice that you really notice, like, oh, like I've actually, whoa, like something's happened, a growth. But how can it be the same? It's not possible. It's like muscle. It's not possible for it to stay the same. It's a growing, it's a building on thing. That's a very beautiful thing, the garden of your practice. And sometimes there's a season where the garden doesn't look so good, but it's a season that has to happen for the growth to happen in the next season. Yeah, and an experience like this that I've just lived, it's impossible for something like that not to change you. I'm still very much in it, so what that will look like, I don't know. But one thing's for sure, I have such trust in the practice of, I don't even know what to call it, I guess prayer. It's like almost the closest thing. Like when I think about my writing, when I think about, it's either the practice of questions, the practice of prayer, the practice of just it's not even right to call it creativity or whatever this is that people do. The prayer builds on the prayer. Like you're not praying the same prayer you can too. And that, actually, I take that back. I think you can pray the same prayer and it's constantly unfolding, much like, say, yoga poses or a song that we keep singing or a ritual that we have at home or a custom. We keep building year after year on the same thing and watching the minute changes. That's sort of the beauty of something being the same, that you get to observe the tiny changes and the way that you have grown. I don't know if I'm answering the question at all, but I'm just vamping. I just realized I have this book on my desk just in relation to stumbling and the challenges and the capitalist thing and I don't know, all the things. This book, True and False by David Mamet. So when I was beginning, my first real thing in life was acting. And I went to New York and studied acting in New York at David Mamet School. David Mamet is a very well-known playwright, New York playwright. And I used to sleep with this book under my pillow. And that's why it looks, it's pretty. It's gone places. And I still read it. And it's called Heresy and Common Sense for the Actor. But it's not an acting book. It's really not an acting book. I still open it. It's underlined to the wazoo. There's basically nothing not underlined. But he was the first person, I think, that spoke to this. And he's not it's not a spiritual book. It's not it's common sense, as grounded as it gets, But just this whole idea of working for your own good opinion and being steadfast in following your own good opinion. And even, with acting, it's just it's hell. You're literally living for someone else to tell you you're good enough, every second, in every audition, in every, there's so many ways that you could just destroy yourself, with your, with the heartache of missing out or being second or being last or being, it's just my God, talk about letting the world define you, And this book really, it stood the test of time for me. It really changed my life when I read it back then in my very early 20s. I talk in a very, maybe, it sounds kind of maybe spiritual, but really it's as simple as it gets. If you really wanted to break this stuff down in just concrete, he's done it. I don't know how to speak because I don't have much common sense in that way, but I recognize it. I recognize it when I read it, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to hear someone just like the parent, you've got this. What makes you, what's good. What makes your heart sing. You've got this.
It's funny you say that you don't have that common sense in that way and that practical way of speaking, because just to wrap up, for me, reading your work is like opening the poetry of someone like Mary Oliver, or I used to love reading and enjoying Michael Lunig's poems because there was just this essential element of truth in the words that they wrote, but there was an added element. There's an added hope that you mentioned earlier, or comfort or humanity or something in it, whether it was sad or beautiful or whatever it was. So I think the work that you do and the words that you write are making the world a better place. And it's a very interesting kind of reflection for me, because I often look at people who are doing acts of, I suppose, charity or service, whether it's in giving the homeless somewhere to live, but art is a service as well. So I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for all the words that you write and taking this path less travelled, I would say.
Yeah, thank you. Just all that you said, it was like, oh, yeah. And maybe a better word for hope, what I just heard in what you said, is beauty. Keeping on reaching for beauty. I feel like beauty is like the truest thing, like more than love even, more than like beauty, the sublime. Like at what point, like we can still reach for it, even in horror, even in anger, even in devastation. We can still keep reaching for it. We can still keep reaching for the flower or my children's laughter or any children's laughter. The fact that we still have that ability, I just find that absolutely mind-blowingly incredible. I actually have heard of many people experience that space. They're in absolute horror. It wasn't the safe meditation room with the lovely sounds and the incense and the candle. That's the practice for the other thing. Hopefully never will, touch wood, for all people to not experience horror. It's not saying the horror is coming, but we will all face even our own deaths. That is we will all do it. The deathbed is coming for all of us. And it's like, if you can find safe space inside of absolute terror and terrorism, wow, this thing really exists. It really exists. And beauty, that means beauty is available. Yeah, that just kills me. And I will keep reaching for beauty as long as I can. And may I have the grace to keep doing that.
Well, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Poet and songwriter Jess Chapnik Kahn. And if you'd like more of Jess's incredible work, you'll find links to her Instagram in the notes of this episode, along with links to her book of poetry, Madre. And if you know of someone who's making the world a better place, tell me about them. You'll find my email in the episode notes. I'm Siobhan Hunt. See you on the next episode of A Better World Blueprint.